Justin, another day, another dollar. What's going on, my man?
So my mic is turned on, right? Right.
Yes, it is.
We're breaking the streak
There we go.
of starting total BS without. Okay. So, Saul, I woke up this morning. I grabbed my water, grabbed my coffee, grabbed my breakfast. I was feeling really good, and then I opened up the cabinet, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna choose violence today, and I think your Phoenix Suns are so damn lucky, and they might be the luckiest team in the NBA because injuries are the reason why they're in the Western Conference Finals, and it might be the reason why they go to the NBA championship, Saul.
I'm not
And
even
that's
trying to hear that from a Lakers fan who's gotten every break in the history of basketball. Dude,
that's how we're doing it today.
don't test me. Here we
That's
go.
how we're doing
Yo,
it.
your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. For real.
How you gonna try and get me all riled up for no reason, man? It ain't my fault everybody got injured.
Yeah, but
You wouldn't be saying you wouldn't care if the Lakers are in this position at all.
and that's just it. The Lakers kind of got the same deal last year. Key players were missing, like in that Portland series, and the Lakers just kept getting lucky, and next thing you know, they won the NBA championship. So you're right. I wasn't making any excuses for the other teams, but man, it's just so weird to see these NBA playoffs and the path that it's gone. And now, like, I'm sitting here thinking, man, the Phoenix Suns are actually probably going to win an NBA championship this year. So I know you don't want to jinx it, Saul. I know you're not going to get too far ahead of yourself. But me, since my team is out, I'm hopping on the Suns bandwagon, and I'm predicting it right now. I think Phoenix is going to win it all.
Ooh. I can't comment on it, man, because
I chose violence.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like one of the things that I know and I hold dear to my heart is that it's never over till it's over. Nothing is guaranteed in this world, especially when you're an Arizona sports fan. You know this as a Wildcats fan. ASU. I mean, every franchise here in this state has had some type of bad luck. Just at the randomest of times, and it's unfortunate. But hopefully this year that streak breaks. It's been kind of cool to see everything go down the way it has. The Eastern Conference is nuts right now. You got both semifinals in a Game 7. Who do you think is going to ultimately prevail in the East? Let's start with Milwaukee versus Brooklyn.
This is tough because Kyrie Irving is going to be out, and James Harden is nursing that hamstring still and still trying to get back to 100%. So now it's going to come down to, all right, can Kevin Durant be that bad man once again and carry the Brooklyn Nets to the next round or to victory? And the thing about Kevin Durant is that he scored 47 points. And to me, Saul, it wasn't really that surprising to see what he did, but it was just refreshing to see that considering the odds were stacked against him coming off the Achilles injury and really being out of basketball for the last 2 years, that he could still step on the court in the biggest moment, drop 47 points, and show that he's one of the top players in the world. So I don't want to bet against Kevin Durant. Giannis even said it after Game 5 that this is the best player on the planet. And with that being said, I'm not sure if I want to bet against Kevin Durant right now. So it's going to be tough, but I like the Nets.
Well, we also have a special guest that's going to join us as well. George Wrightster is in the house. George, how's it going, buddy?
Really, really good. I'm actually on the way. Our whole schedule got jacked up today, but on the way to my son's 7-on-7 tournament. But I told you guys I would come on, so I'm not gonna miss. Not gonna miss.
There you go.
Heck yeah, thank you, George.
Nets versus Bucks. Who you got and why?
Okay, so my head says the Bucks, right? But because this is probably the most important game for the Bucks in the last 30 years, probably, because they have Giannis, a 2-time MVP, and if he can't get out of the second round of the playoffs versus a banged up Brooklyn team, then like you can't have a whole lot of hope for the future that
Oh, you're kind of
you're going
breaking
to be
up on
able to
us.
sell. So this is more important.
Oh, you're kind of breaking up on us, George.
Brooklyn, if they lose,
Some technical difficulties on that side for a second. We're kind of losing you in and out.
okay.
So yeah, it's all good. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we're having some technical difficulties with George right now. So
Hopefully
maybe
he can get
we'll
back on.
get him another time. Yeah. But let's move over to Sixers and Hawks. What was your impression last night? Hawks had a chance to close it out and couldn't pull through. What do you like about the Hawks' chances in Game 7 on the road in Philly?
Oh man, it was such a golden opportunity for the Hawks to finally close it out, and Trae Young, I think, has been so special in the playoffs this year, and I think he's shown that he's one of the top guards in the Eastern Conference right now, and he's going to be, a star in the NBA. He's shown that he can lead a team and be that number one option. And the thing about the Hawks that it just makes it so great is that they're essentially just a bunch of average guys. There's no all NBA selections. Trae Young is the only all-star. And they're going up against a Sixers team that has 3 players on the all-defensive team. And this is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So really, I mean, this shouldn't have been a series, but we're now going into a Game 7 in Philadelphia. And to me, Ben Simmons has shown me that he is not a superstar in this league.
I don't understand that at all. What Ben Simmons has shown in these playoffs is that he has no work ethic on the offensive side of the ball. You can't debate that. The fact that this man cannot shoot for crap from the free throw line is so beyond absurd. It's ridiculous. It's just trash. It's absolute trash. Like, what are you doing in the offseason? Kobe actually, I'm going to bring up a clip one time. I'm going to bring up a clip here in a second and to talk about Kobe's work ethic, right? And Ben Simmons is the epitome of what Kobe would never want on his team. And I don't know if that's ultimately, I think that might cost them a chance at a championship.
I agree. And, I've heard it all, okay? And, I've had some friends who are Sixers fans / Ben Simmons apologists. And, excuse me. And I've told them, this isn't the player that you want. This is the player that you're giving, $34 million a year for. Because I brought up not scoring a field goal in the fourth quarter in the previous 2 games. In game 6 and game 5, Ben Simmons, game 5 and game 4, Ben Simmons didn't make a field goal in either of the fourth quarter. In game 5, he didn't make a field goal in the entire second half. Nobody on the Sixers besides Joel Embiid and Seth Curry made a field goal in the second half in that game. For Ben Simmons, you look at his stat line, you go, 9 assists. You're supposed to be doing that. And that's what one of my Sixers friends told me. It's like, okay, well, if 9 assists is what you are looking for, TJ McConnell can do that for you for $25 million less annually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why, I sit there and I'm like, dude, Ben Simmons, to me, he just isn't it. With Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid should be the cornerstone piece for this franchise. Ben Simmons just doesn't work with Joel Embiid, and you talk about the work ethic. It's just not there. The dog isn't in Ben Simmons.
No.
And you know what? If the jump shot isn't falling, then you better be going to the rack every single time. And he's not even doing that. You look at the free throws attempt. He's not going to the line because why? He can't make free throws. So, he's going to the free throw line. He's shooting about 6 or 7 attempts a game, but he's only making 1 or 2 of them. It's just so bad, man.
As I said, there's a clip about Kobe by Phil Handy. He talks about his relationship with Kobe, or he talks about why Kobe was an a-hole, right? And take a look.
Yeah.
In his memory, what stands out?
Man, his realness.
his realness, man. He was misunderstood, man. I asked him one time, Matt, I said, man, why you such an asshole? I asked him that. And he said, you really want to know? You know how he was. And he said to me, he said, Phil, man, some of my teammates don't understand the work. He said, so I see dudes walk into practice 10 minutes before practice and they leave right after. Why the fuck am I going to pass them the basketball? I don't respect their work ethic. I'm in here busting my ass every day trying to perfect my craft, and these dudes don't want to work on their game. I don't trust them. So I'm not going to pass them the basketball. I'm going to ride them hard every day. Made perfect sense when he really broke it down as to why he is the way he is with certain dudes.
I mean, it's that, right? And for Philadelphia, in my estimation, from the surface level, they don't have a Kobe on that team that is just going to do everything they possibly can to win a title. I think on some of these other teams, you have that, but I don't know if there's a superstar on some of these teams that are remaining that have that work ethic outside of, and I will say this, Chris Paul is one of those dudes. Devin Booker is one of those dudes, and I'm not trying to be biased, but those two I know put in the work. I absolutely know they put in the work, right? If you go over to the Clippers, right? I don't know, Kawhi and Paul George. I don't know. I would assume Kawhi does. Just he's very quiet about it, right? He just goes about his business, does his own thing. I don't know if Joel Embiid is even on that level in terms of just obsessed with winning. I know he cares about winning. I know he does. I know Joel Embiid would give his left arm to win a championship, right? You saw that with the emotion after they lost against the Toronto Raptors a couple of years ago and him crying on the way back to the locker room like he was devastated by what had just happened because they were that close to getting to the NBA Finals, right? So I know he cares, but do you care enough to just, bleed and sweat every single day, and it's almost an obsession, right? Yeah. It's an obsession to be the best you possibly can be, or the best in the world. And I don't know how many players really have that. It's a unique trait. Let's not kid ourselves. Kobe, Michael, they're kind of in the same vein in terms of obsession about winning, right? They're just such a rare breed. But you need to have at least a portion of that or a percentage of that in order to win a championship. And affect your teammates to a degree where they know, like, hey, there is no messing around. You have to put in the work. And Ben Simmons does not put in the work. And if he is putting in the work, it's wildly unproductive work. Maybe he's, I saw a clip of him shooting one-legged jumpers in warm-up. And he couldn't make any of them. We're talking like 10 to 15 feet, just little one-handed runners. And I was like, bruh, you can't even shoot a jump shot. Why are you even trying to shoot off of one leg? Yeah. Like, you need to get the fundamentals down before you even try to get to that point. Bro, you can't even shoot a three. And you're a point guard in the NBA. Dude, that's so beyond absurd. It's ridiculous. Ben Simmons, I'm sorry. If I'm Philadelphia, I'm getting rid of Ben Simmons. I am. Yeah. I am, because I'm not a believer, and you're not going anywhere with him. You're just not.
He plays great defense.
He does.
He's all NBA, defensive team selection. He has incredible vision. He's tall. He's athletic. But like you said, Saul, it's just the fundamentals. It's just not registering with this guy. And I don't know if it's in his head. I don't know where it's at, but it's been the same narrative ever since he's been in the NBA. This guy can be one of the best players in the NBA. He could be. How many times do we hear about Ben Simmons becoming the next LeBron James?
If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, then every day would be Christmas, man. It's always the same story.
If my aunt had a mustache, then she'd be my uncle.
Yep.
It's so.
I don't know about that because I know a lot of aunts that have mustaches.
Got the little catfish thing going on.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, we've heard
Kaiser
it all.
Soze.
If Ben Simmons got a damn jump shot, he'd be the next LeBron James. He'd be one of the best players in the NBA. That narrative has been the same tune for the last 3-4 years. And you know what? It hasn't come to fruition. They tried to make the former head coach before Doc Rivers, Brett Brown. They tried to make him the scapegoat and said, okay, we've reached our ceiling with this guy. Let's see what we could do with Doc Rivers. And all credit to Doc Rivers. He won a championship with the Boston Celtics. Okay. Great person. But I mean, is this the kind of guy that you need around Joel Embiid?
You need a great talent developer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Doc Rivers has ever been known as a talent developer. I think he's been a talent manager
because
but not a developer.
Because the only team that he won a championship with and even got to the finals with, they were already there. KG was way past his prime. Paul Pierce was way past his prime. Ray Allen was on the back nine of his
they were
career.
all in their prime.
Well, they were still really productive players, but I mean, they weren't these budding superstars. They were there. They already reached their destination.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I understand that, he had Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin, under Doc Rivers' direction, turned into, this high flyer guy. But like you said, Saul, I mean, he's just hasn't been known to really develop young talent. And everybody thought, okay, Ben Simmons under Doc Rivers, what's going to happen? And it's the same thing every single time.
Even going back to your Blake Griffin point, Blake Griffin was an athletic phenom when he came out
pick in the draft.
Yeah, when he came out of college, you knew what you're going to get with Blake Griffin. The only difference is that Blake Griffin, it took so long for Blake Griffin to develop his jump shot in order to be effective enough to be a solid player in the NBA, or at least a consistent threat in the NBA, to where you didn't just basically try to cordon off the paint every time he got the ball. And he didn't even develop that jump shot until when? Until Doc Rivers left. Or he got traded, one of those two. I can't remember what it was, but that's when he started to develop that jump shot, because he was getting older. He understood his athleticism wasn't going to last forever, and it hasn't. It's depleted quite a bit, and so he's had to develop that on his own. You need that development to start day one. That's even part of my frustration with DeAndre Ayton right now. I wish there was a shooting guru with DeAndre Ayton in the offseason that could teach him how to really shoot a little bit more effectively from the perimeter, right? He's got a very low release on his jump shot. He needs a little bit more arc. He's a tall guy. He should be able to drop threes. You see Jokic doing that. Pretty simple, right? And a lot of other quality bigs that can shoot from the perimeter. It just adds such a dynamic to your game that makes you more of a threat. And DA, I feel like it's going to develop at some point, and he will be a threat from the perimeter. He shoots it in practice all the time. So I've seen him do it multiple times. He can hit 10, 20 in a row. But to do it in a game is a completely different story. And so, the development of this talent is the most crucial thing. And I think whoever's been around Ben Simmons has been sniffing his farts far too long. And again, I think there's a quote that says, bad players don't want to be coached. Good players want to be coached. Great players want you to tell them the truth. And if you told Kobe or if you told Michael, dude, your jump shot sucks, that's all they would think about for the next 12 months while they worked their ass off to prove you wrong. Phil Jackson talked about when Michael first came in the league. His jump shot was okay, but it wasn't phenomenal. And he just worked and worked and worked and worked, and then he became a great shooter, great scorer. And that's what you need to get yourself to another level. Ben Simmons doesn't have that work ethic. That's enough from Ben Simmons. We'll move along from him. I actually think that the Sixers will find a way to win Game 7. I think the Bucks will surprise the Nets on the road in Game 7 as well. And I think we'll have a Bucks versus 76ers Eastern Conference final, which is kind of phenomenal because no matter who ends up getting to the NBA Finals, it's going to be lit, dude. It's going to be completely new. And I'm sorry, I don't want the Nets to get to the championship. And the reason why is because I'm tired of this microwave, instant satisfaction, instant gratification society, or way that some of these teams are trying to build, right? They just bring in 3 superstars and all of a sudden you go from an okay playoff team to one of the best teams in the NBA. And I'm like, it just feels like it's so superficial. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and we were talking about the big three with the Boston Celtics. The thing about that team was, they brought in two superstars to complement Paul Pierce. That was their big three. But one thing that really kind of doesn't get talked about was that was almost like peak Rondo.
Yeah.
Like Rajon Rondo was this up and coming guard who was pass first. I mean, he could just do everything as a point guard that you need to surround those superstars. And as much as I don't like his NBA takes on ESPN, Kendrick Perkins was still a serviceable big man.
Yeah.
And even Kobe said Kendrick Perkins was actually one of the best defensive big mans that I ever faced. And when Kendrick Perkins said that on ESPN, I thought that was the biggest clout chasing take I've ever seen. I'm like, go, all right, Perk. Like, Kobe didn't say that. And then he found the receipts. He found the video of Kobe Bryant actually saying Kendrick Perkins was. I'm like, okay, you win this time, Kendrick Perkins. But the difference between that big three and the Nets big three is that they had the surrounding cast members.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Nick Claxton or Joe Harris is it for the Brooklyn Nets. And you know what? They're going to need all those guys to be healthy. And the truth of the matter is, Kyrie Irving, we don't know about his ankle. I mean, LeBron James was dealing with an ankle injury all year long and never really fully recovered from it. Yeah. Kyrie Irving just injured his ankle and is now in the heart of the NBA playoffs. How is he going to manage that? James Harden, I mean, doesn't look 100%. So if you're going to rely on Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant only, no team has ever won an NBA championship just relying on one player. It's just not going to happen. So to be honest with you, Saul, I don't even think you have to worry about the Nets winning a championship because I don't even think they're going to get there.
Ooh. I'm not going to count the Nets out quite so fast, but yeah, I do think the Bucks will take care of them today. Although I will say this: if they find a way to get past the Bucks today, I don't think the 76ers or the Hawks are going to stop them from getting to the NBA Finals. I just don't believe that. So I feel like the 76ers are too fragile for that moment. So anyway, moving on to other teams in shambles. We'll go ahead and talk about this guy and what's going on at ASU. You know what? Reading everything, deal or no deal? Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal?
It is a big deal.
Is it? Why?
It's not as big of a deal as the college basketball scandal that a lot of people here in Arizona ultimately compare it to.
Which ultimately ended up to be nothing, really, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, dudes got fired for essentially $15,000. And I'm like, that's so worthless, in my opinion. But
the whole basketball pay-for-play scandal, and hopefully George Wrightster, he messaged me and said that he's going to he's almost home or wherever he's going to. So I think he's going to have a stable connection. So hopefully we can get his take on the whole deal because he talked about it on his podcast, and I thought it had an interesting take on it. But this is different from the college basketball scandal because it's just one program, and it's not really like super crazy. Now, the benefits, like I saw in Doug Haller's story in The Athletic that some of the assistant coaches paid players for like hotels and flights and stuff like that for them to go to the 2018 Las Vegas Bowl. And if that's the case, then you're essentially giving kids money to go to Las Vegas. Like, that is not an on-campus event. Now, with that being said, they're going to a bowl game. They're trying to experience what it's like to be around this program when it's in a bowl. But, I mean, you don't see Alabama having recruits in attendance for the national championship game. If they're always, at least I don't know.
Again, never make an assumption, man.
Yeah.
In college sports, and I said this to all the ASU fans that wanted to try and sling dirt, my way about, the FBI investigation and stuff. I'm like, if you think for a second that your program is clean too, you are high and out of your mind. There's not a clean program in college sports at the Division I level in a Big Five conference.
What did Larry Tarkanian said? 9 out of 10 schools are cheating. The other one is in last place.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, the benefits and these again, first of all, if you're not giving cash to a recruit, right, and you're paying for them to fly out to see a game, you're paying for their hotel, and I don't know what else you're doing, but if it's just that on the surface level, I don't give a damn. I really don't care. Like in this day and age where these recruits basically are individual businesses in my estimation, right? And the NLI, I think, will go to prove that, and these players are going to be able to benefit off their likeness and their name and all that stuff, right? Get sponsors or whatever, and they should. It needs to be regulated to some degree. Otherwise, you're going to have the big schools just dominating everything, and there won't be any way. Like, how is an Akron supposed to compete with like a North Carolina? They're not. They're just not going to be able to.
Well, I mean, they weren't competing with them to begin with.
True, but when you're talking about like the NCAA tournament, right? The small schools rely on that senior leadership and players that have been in the program for 3-4 years in order to make some noise in the tournament, right? If you have players like right now, the transfer window is ridiculously high, and players are leaving because they get a little bit of love. They play very well in their first or second year, and then boom, they transfer to a bigger school because they want more eyes on them and all that good stuff, right? I'm cool with that, but this unlimited transfer type scenario is just, it's a little too much for me. As the beauty of college sports was, it's not
free
like
agency.
Yeah, it's not like the NBA. It's not like pro sports where I have to buy a jersey every year just to keep up with the franchise's moves. You know what I mean? Like, the beauty of college sports is that you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you could just, who's going to be there for the most part every single year, and it's nice. I think that's kind of ruining. That's going to ruin what's going to come, in the future. But you got to deal with it, right? Yeah. And when it comes to paying players and giving them benefits, I just don't think that the issues that ASU is dealing with right now and what they did, however wrong they might be under the current rules and regulations, is really that big of a deal. I really don't. Like, I feel like we all jumped to conclusions, and we all thought worst case scenario when the FBI investigation came down on Arizona and the other schools, right? We all thought death penalty or, some massive 2, 3, 4, 5 year
SMU
ban.
football.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was going to be awful, and it didn't amount to anything, really. Yeah. I mean, you got a couple assistants that lost their jobs. Some of them went to prison, and the FBI wasted a lot of government money trying to enforce standards that the NCAA could never enforce on their own for whatever reason. That's about what happened.
And the only head coach who got really fired from all this as soon as it happened was Rick Pitino. Like, Shaw Miller kept his job. Will Wade kept his job.
But that's because Pitino was also under investigation for getting hookers for his athletes.
That was kind of like his third strike. Like, all right, buddy, you're out of here. Yeah. Will Wade still coaching at LSU. Shaw Miller got fired because, well, they just weren't winning, and the program just had no really a sense of direction.
I think it was more fatigue. It was fatigue of Shaw Miller.
Yeah. But I agree with you with the name, image, and likeness. And the one thing that I'm curious about is like the regulations. So basically what the plan is that these student athletes can benefit off their name, image, and likeness through third-party companies. So let's say the starting point guard at North Carolina, if he wants to do a barbecue commercial at Big Heels Barbecue, then he can do that as long as he's not wearing any North Carolina gear. Like, you can't have the logo anywhere. It is literally just you and that company. And that's why, like, I'm totally okay with that. But there's always loopholes. There's always a loophole. And then you start to get into, let's say, the LA market, USC football. I mean, how many companies are they going to reach out to? Like, hey, so let's get this deal going on. We're going to recruit these kids, and we're going to include you in a recruiting pitch and let them know how much money they can make through your company. And then it starts to get into the dirty business. So there's always a loophole, and there's always going to be a dirty way about, going about the business. But you know what? Fuck the NCAA. They make millions of dollars off these kids' name, image, and likeness. These kids are bringing in millions of dollars every single year for the NCAA. Allow them to make some money. And you know what? They deserve it. So
is that going to come at the cost of these smaller sports?
Possibly.
I mean, how does a men's tennis player at Cal, how do they be able to profit off their likeness if nobody's really interested in men's tennis? You know what I mean? Like, that's where I feel like that's where you're going to start to see a little bit of the disconnect when it comes to this kind of stuff. Where's the money going to go? Where's it going to be focused? A lot of sponsors, a lot of ads are going to go towards these two major programs, right?
Yeah.
On the women's side of sports, it's a little difficult. You have the women, the NCAA women's basketball tournament, I think is great hoops. And if you know me, you know that I've been on the whoops train basically my entire life. I love women's basketball. I think it's great. It's different than the men's game because you don't have the high flyers and a little bit of the physicality, but it's still entertaining basketball. So when you got those types of players, like Ari McDonald would have made some revenue. She would have made some money, right?
Yeah.
Locally in these local establishments, like the UConn women's program, probably can get some ad revenue locally, right? But on a national level, what are we talking about? And what are the rules nationally? Like, are we, can Nike pull in an Ari McDonald for a national ad? Is that against the rules? Is that okay? And then that means then you have these programs. Let's say Adidas wanted Ari McDonald for something, but Arizona's a Nike school. Are you going to have your cover athlete be on the face of a different shoe company because that's who wants to sponsor her? And then what kind of deal is that? And then you have players that are basically going to be able to force their way in and out of situations because of the money that they're making. It's just very, very complex. I agree. Players should get paid. They should absolutely be able to profit out their likeness. But we'd all be fools to think that there isn't some conflict of interest from time to time with these varying degrees of difference from program to program or across the country, and what programs are better suited to handle that and what programs are not suited to handle that is going to be fascinating to watch.
But going back to your point about like smaller sports, for instance, softball isn't this major revenue sport. Mm-hmm. However, softball in Tucson, Arizona is a big deal. So that's why I think, some of the players from the U of A softball team could easily make some money. I mean, they're recognizable faces in the community, so they could easily do a commercial for EG's or a commercial for, Jim Click, dealership. I mean, there's some opportunities there for a lot of people. But, going back to this, like, is this a big deal or is it not a big deal? I think it is a big deal because this assistant coach, and according to Keyshawn Johnson, he said this on ESPN, and it's kind of cool because ASU has a number of like NFL ties because of obviously Herm Edwards. So of course, they're going to defend their guy. And Keyshawn Johnson brought up Kevin Mawai, who was this assistant coach and was supposed to be the offensive line coach, but didn't get the job. And then Keyshawn Johnson said he kind of felt some resentment, so he wanted to start peeling back the curtain on ASU football and some of their recruiting tactics. And you start to go back and see like the videos by Antonio Pierce that he tweeted, like when he didn't get the Arizona job. And then he tweeted out a video of him and Herm Edwards standing side by side with a drone video panning out of them holding up the forks up with the money symbol or the money like ka-ching playing in the background. So like I see that video, I'm like, oh man, that aged so well. But like Antonio Pierce, according to the receipts and the sources that talked to Yahoo and The Athletic, he had this very like, okay, you're either in or you're out. We're either gonna cut corners, break some rules here, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to get these kids. And you're either with us or you're against us. I on my radio show earlier this week, I'm like, ASU football is almost like Death Row Records, and Herm Edwards is Dr. Dre, and
Antonio Pierce is Suge for sure, absolutely. Antonio Pierce is definitely Suge Knight. Yeah,
but they were sneaking in recruits during games, according to the story. Okay, I'm not saying this, but in the story on Yahoo and Athletic, they were sneaking in recruits through the back doors, allowing them to stay in suites during games. This is all during a recruiting dead period. Yeah. Why was a recruiting dead period in place from March 2020 to June 1st, 2021? Ooh, what was going on during that time? Wasn't there like a global pandemic happening?
Something like that.
the reason why they didn't have recruits on campus was because they were trying to prevent the spread of the virus. So when you're like, hey, we're going to, just hush hush, have some kids on campus, we're going to meet them in person. That is just so reckless. And then you look at their season, wasn't ASU dealing with COVID-19 issues? Mm-hmm. So like you start to look back and it's like, man, the way this football program is run, and like I love Herm Edwards. I love his CEO approach, like, hey, I'm just here to mentor young kids, and I'm going to put a lot of trust into my assistant coaches. I love that approach, but now it's starting to look like, well, the chickens are coming home to roost, and maybe that's not the right approach that you should take running a college football program.
Okay. All right. Facts there, Justin. All right. I can't disagree with that. You know what I mean? And ever since you said the Suge Knight thing, I can't stop but thinking, Antonio Pierce is probably in the locker room if you saying to recruits, if you don't want your producer or your coach dancing all up in your videos, come to Arizona State. Oh man. Well, it's time for everybody's favorite program or segment. It's dad joke time, baby. Before we wrap this baby up. Justin, my man, you will be first to go this week. I hope you got some zingers because I'm ready.
So, all right. So, my friend went bald years ago, but still carries his old comb with him. He just can't part with it.
Oh, my God.
That's not my best work, but
no. What vegetables sweet to everybody? Or what? God damn it! I ruined it. Oh man, I was so close. What animals are the best to call if you get locked out of your house?
What is that?
Monkeys.
Your botched one that you just had, it reminded me of The Office with the. It smells like Up Dog in here. And then Michael tries it out of The Office. It smells like what's up, dog in here. All right.
Yep.
When I'm around my Spanish-speaking friends, I always use the word mucho. It means a lot to them.
Oh my God. That's good. Why don't phones ever go hungry?
Why?
They have plenty of apps to choose from.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so funny. All right. My doctor wrote me a prescription for daily sex, but my girlfriend insists it's for dyslexia.
That's good. I like that. What did the geometry teacher say when the class was having trouble solving a problem?
What?
Let's try a different angle. And that's dad jokes for this week, folks. So you got another one, or are you good? Okay, I think he's good. All right,
I'm good. I looked at them and they're just so bad.
Yeah, they're so bad. All right, cool. Well, hey, Justin, again, so let me get your predictions before the series starts. Bucks Nets, who you got?
Gosh. I'm going with the Nets.
And 76ers Hawks, who you got?
Sixers.
So you have Nets, Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Who you got making it to the NBA Finals out of those two?
Oh, man. That's so tough because I don't know what Kyrie's ankle is going to be like, and it's all on that.
Nets, Sixers, who you got going to the NBA Finals?
Sixers.
All right. Suns, Clips, who you got going to the NBA Finals?
Suns in 4.
Uh-oh.
Suns in 4.
So Suns, 76ers, who you got winning the NBA championship?
Phoenix, baby. Rally the Valley.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Let's go, baby.
Oh, man. I got chills, man. I don't know, man.
I don't want to be like the kiss of death here.
We're going to have 122 degrees and 122,000 people in downtown Phoenix sweating and going crazy and passing out, and nobody's going to care because it's going to be the greatest day ever if that happens. So we'll see if that all comes to fruition. This is another episode of Total BS Podcast. Justin, tell them where they can find us.
First of all, just want to wish a happy Father's Day to you, Saul.
Thank you, sir.
Want to wish a happy Father's Day to all of you amazing dads out there. If you're a fan of Total BS Podcast, you can find this on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. But the live show is where it's at. The live video stream, we always have a good time every Saturday morning. So make sure you get updates on our Saturday show. So with that being said, subscribe on YouTube, Twitch, like us on Facebook, give us a follow on Twitter, and yeah, Total BS Podcast. Share with all your friends.
There you go. We'll see
Happy
you when
Father's
we see
Day.
you. Peace.
Yo, your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us.